Now let's just cover one more cool and advanced technique. Let's say, for example, this client understands their conversion path to a sale. Okay, they happen to know that somebody will typically search for a specific product. Let's just say HDMI cable, for example. That person will click on an HDMI cable ad, one of their search ads or one of their shopping ads. But before a customer typically buys, they will go back and they'll do another Google search for the name of the brand. They'll click on the brand name. They're going to want to learn a little bit more about the company to build that trust factor. And then after coming through that second AdWords campaign, which was the branded campaign, they're going to actually convert on that third, or they'll be likely to convert on that third visit. So you want to set up a remarketing campaign that targets people who went through both those steps already, that went first through the search campaign and then went through a branded campaign. That's a super, super high level of engagement. And you happen to know that 70 or 75% of the time, if a user first comes through a regular search or shopping campaign and then does another search for the brand and clicks on a branded ad, they're very, very likely to convert their third time. So you want to set up a campaign that targets people who took both those steps already. To do that, let's get rid of these two qualifications over here. And we're going to go down to sequences. This is the first time we've been in sequences, but sequences allows you to set up audience segments based on sequential conditions, based on what happened in a timeline. It's really, really cool. So let's go ahead and simply set this up. First of all, we want to set up our filter conditions. So we want to include sessions, and we're going to use any user interaction. Our first step is, once again, campaign. Let's say contains that HDMI cables and cords search campaign. And we could also set up an or in that first step of the sequence. So it'll be or the campaign contains that 2.0 catch for network cables. That's a shopping campaign. Now let's go ahead and click add step. That is followed by, once again, campaign contains, or exactly matches. We could switch these to exactly matches. Doesn't make a difference for this specific example. Campaign exactly matches. Let's look for branded, branding, or branded general. Let's say this is the branded campaign that we want to target for step 2. So once we have this set up, this is exactly the sequence that we discussed in the example that we wanted to create. People who first came through a specific shopping or search campaign, and then is followed by somebody who came through the branded campaign, which means they went back to Google and they searched for the brand name. And this would be now my audience. So so using the sequences is a really cool way to set up very, very specific remarketing audiences based on a predetermined funnel that you create, that you tell Google to follow. As you can see, sequences could get really, really complicated and really, really nuanced, because you could use any of these attributes that you've used in the past. So you could do, they first came through a campaign, or their initial page contains VGA to HDMI converter with audio, right? You might be saying anybody who comes through this campaign, or anybody who first viewed this page and then went to do did a branded search. So you could really set up lots of advanced sequences based on your data. And that's the key. It's all based on what you see, what you uncover inside your analytics accounts. So just as a quick recap, you could use the traffic sources menu to set up audiences based on one campaign with keyword qualifiers, medium, and source, if you want to set it up that way. You could come down to conditions to create audiences that will target multiple campaigns and exclude campaigns using the and or conditions. To get more advanced and segment your users sequentially, you come down into the sequences and you could set up the sequences with however many steps and in whatever way you want to set them up. Just keep in mind, the more steps you add, the more conditions you add, the more qualifiers you add, the fewer cookies you're going to have available. So make sure you have enough website traffic that's filtering down through these steps and through these conditions in order to have a good remarketing audience of, you want to really be at least 100 cookies. So that's a basic overview of setting up remarketing audiences based on AdWords campaigns. We talked about using sequences. We talked about using conditions. We talked about briefly about the e-commerce section over here, but we'll talk about that more in future chapters. I hope this is really exciting for you, because this is super cool. Once again, this tool is very, very important to really understand well, so you could build out your remarketing audiences effectively. Thank you very much for sticking with me through this one. I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys soon in a few minutes in the next lecture.